So this is Martin Belton of Extols. I'm here with our keynote speaker, Clive Shepherd. Clive, thank you for joining us today. We've been enjoying your recent book, but you've been here to talk about something else today. You've been here talking about the new technology with the potential to transform learning and development in organisations. But you're suggesting that we're not taking best use of that and we're not really rolling it out as well as we could do. Tell us a bit more about that. Why is that?
Well, the why is very complicated, and there are many dimensions to it. And if we really understood it, we would have been able to do something about it before. But I think that the story of learning technology in the workplace is a slow grind. And when we think back about some of the research that was, well, not research, but the forecasts that were done years ago about where we would be in terms of learning technology, with massive growth every year. It just hasn't been like that. It's a very slow process. And I think that it's always been slightly ironic to me that the world of education and training, even though people, practitioners in that area would regard themselves as change agents, people who bring change upon others, are very reluctant to see change in their own domain, and so you'd have to say it's a pretty unconservative and cautious profession. Well, which is fine, and things must be going reasonably well, because after all, of the tens of millions of people who go to work in this country, most of them do so fairly proficiently, so they must be getting trained well. But I think there are some massive opportunities being missed. And you ask why, and I'd have to say that there are, in some reasons there's a little bit of fear about what technology might do to people's jobs, which I think is justified, given that in practically every other profession technology has made big differences. Particularly, it's cut away a lot of the more boring administrative parts of some jobs, and made it easy for people to source expertise all over the world, or even to automate some things into a purely technological solution. So it's understandable that people would be a little anxious about being replaced, and an awful lot of people in learning development are they're subject experts who've been drafted in to teach their subject, and they get a big buzz out of being the sage on the stage and performing and getting positive feedback from learners and working closely with learners. And I think they would be worried about the future might strip them of some of those opportunities and leave them in a rather precarious place. And I think, to be fair, we should never pretend that every learning professional is going to fit into the future model. But on the other hand, people's experience outside work of technology and how you interface with, how you learn, how you develop yourself outside work is so profoundly different because of technology, particularly mobile technology and simple things like search and YouTube and all these other things. It's made such a difference that we know that if we were able to apply just an element of that within the workplace, that it would be transformational. And I think that when you consider that most learning development departments anyway only deal with a very tiny fraction of the training that's required in an organisation, and often it's only the most formal and obviously required things, there's masses of untapped needs or unmet needs across organisations. So in many cases, even if you kept everything you had and then supplemented it with, by using technology to scale up, to more people, more different types of needs, more minority needs, and more flexibly, just to add to what we're doing would be transformational. But of course, there's also the fact that a lot of learning development departments are under a lot of pressure because they haven't got the money or the time they want. So just using technology to streamline what they do would be transformational. But with all that fear and and lack of expertise about how to go about it, it's holding us back terribly.
So how do we bridge that gap with that lack of digital skills then?
Well, funnily enough, as I was saying in my keynote, we talk about lack of digital skills. But actually, when you get down to it, it actually isn't that. That's what it seems like on the surface. It looks like I need to know a lot about technology, but in fact, to teach using technology, you don't actually have to know very much about it. There are three primary skills that people might need. There's the consultancy skills you need to diagnose problems, come up with solutions. The design skills for creating solutions, and sometimes specifically digital content, and the facilitation skills needed to supervise or facilitate within an online learning environment. To be honest, most of what people need to operate in those environments is nothing that's new. It's nothing that wasn't in those disciplines before technology. It's just that those skills were never very well learned, or they weren't applicable to your job. So it might be you have to do less instructing in front of a class. It might be you have to learn consultancy skills or design skills or other sort of facilitation skills, because pure instruction, in other words, teaching you something else, can be easily packaged, and it's easy to film it and to pass it on as a video. So you need to be doing other things, and a lot of those skills are not really very technical.
So is it just that we're not recognising the challenges of learning with the opportunities that we've got today?
We're not recognising what the possibilities are, and we're not sitting down and saying what skills we need to take advantage of that, because we will not need so many classroom instructors. We will need really good classroom facilitators. We won't need as many instructors. But we do need people who can sensibly design solutions, making use of traditional and technological approaches. We do need people who can design content, and we do need people who can facilitate in things like a virtual classroom or moderate an online course. Those might be skills that you don't have, but they're not actually technical skills. They're just new types of jobs that you're doing. And if you're just an instructor or a subject expert who's used to telling people things, a lot of those things are quite formidable.
So if you were a young learning and development professional entering the industry today, what advice would you give them? What do you think would be a really good skills to have?
Well, the absolutely most important underpinning is to really, really understand what the research is really telling us about adult learning. It's been so well summarised in the last few years by some really great books, and to clear out all the myths that we've been played with for the last, well, as long as I can remember, all the pseudoscience. Clear that out. Concentrate on what we really know about learning, and then start designing on the basis of what we know. And I think that couple that with being very familiar about what possibilities technology provides, because it creates great new possibilities, and I think you can have a very exciting career, very creative, and one of the most satisfying professions you can be in is one in which people leave you with more confidence, more knowledge, better able to do their jobs than they were before they met you. And it's one of those professions where you've done a good job when they don't need you anymore.
Clive, your last book, More Than Blended Learning, we always tell everybody it's required reading for anybody in the industry. I hope this next one is another book, and we'll look forward to reading it.
Okay.
Clive Shepherd, thank
Thanks,
you very
Martin.
much. Thank you.
Pleasure.